Hello, welcome back to Fusion 360 tutorials. In this video, we are going to apply our joint origins and constraints to this assembly. The first thing we want to do is we want to make sure our first piece or our base piece is actually pinned and cannot move. I have already pinned mine. You can see the red pin, push pin on the icon there. If I wanted to unground that, you would not see that. So we want to right click on our base component and we're going to select ground. That's going to prevent it from moving when we start adding some other joints. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add these caster supports to this base plate, and I do need to align these holes with the holes in the plate. You may want to select the object and the caster support, select the M or move command, and we might want to rotate that around to get it closer to the position that we want it to end up at. So with this in place right now, I am going to select my assemble and joint, or J for short. And what I want to do is I want to select this hole with this hole here. So I have to select the object that I'm moving first, and I'm going to select the center of that hole and place that on the center of this hole. It will move into place, and I do not need to make any other adjustments on there. And if I look at the right hand side view of this, if I did, maybe I'll look at the left hand side view, might be easier to see. Move this out of the way. There is a gap in there. So back to our design intent. The design intent is that these holes need to line up. So don't just assume that because this edge is flat or the surface is flat and this surface is flat in here, that those are what we want to align. We want our holes lined up, looking at the top view, so our holes are lined up the way we want it to. So we're going to go in and we're going to add our second support, and using the same constraints, I can just move it over here for convenience if I want, and I'll select J for join, and I'm going to select once again the center of that hole with the center of the hole in my plate, and that will move into place. I don't need to make any other adjustments, and my motion is fixed. So if I do select the animate, you will see it shakes. That means there is no movement. So I will select OK, and we are done adding our caster supports. Both of those are in there, and I'm just going to go ahead and save my file. The next component we want to assemble is we want to add our bushing. So we're going to put this bushing on the inside of the surface here. So J for join, and we want this surface here. I'm going to select that surface in that center, and I'm going to join that with this surface and this center. Select my second object, and there we go. That should move that into place. And this is going to be fixed as well. So checking our motion, that is fixed. We do not want that to rotate. Select OK, and we need to put another bushing in. We don't have one, so we can use the move copy command, or we can drag one from our data panel over there, and then we can move that into place, and we will add similar constraints. So we're J for join, and we want again to put the center of this surface. I'll use the outside edge this time, demonstrate that, and similar to here, use that, and it will move that into place. It is backwards, so we're going to flip it. That is how we want it. Motion is fixed, and we do not need to make any adjustments. Select OK, and we are next. We're going to add the axle. So J, select the J, shortcut J, and we are going to select the center of that, and we can select the center of one of our bushings, and that will place that in there. And you can see it is not fixed in the middle. So what we need to do is we need to drag that to the middle here. And the value we're going to put in there is -22 millimeters. That will center the object. Back to our ISO view, and we have almost everything constrained and assembled so far. And the last component we are going to add is the wheel. And our last component to assemble is the wheel. I'm going to update my assembly because I added a little hole in here so that we could actually see the rotation. So selecting my joint command, and my motion is, it's going to be the revolute option. We want to pick the center of this cylinder through the middle, or the center of the hole. Select that center there, and the center of the shaft. So we will put that in place, and you can see that that is allowed to rotate there. If we click on the motion and do a play, we will see that that is actually rotating around that shaft. And looking at the right side view, we can see that everything is centered appropriately. So we will select OK, back to our isometric view, and we could turn off all our joints if we wanted to. They're visible now. Select that button, we can turn them off, and we could also change our visual display to just show shaded, no hidden edges. Before we complete this video, one change has to be made in this constraint here on this joint here. So I'm going to double click on that constraint, and it was selected for a slider previously. Make sure that one is selected as a rigid joint. So we want that rigid. Select OK, save your file. And that concludes this tutorial.